Hi all, ACDodd here again, and welcome to another episode of On the Road Tuning. This time we're in Romsey, we're in Eastleigh, and we're also in Portchester. Let's go. Okay, so here we are, down in Romsey, and we've got this lovely little 83 Mayfair. Nice little 10-inch wheels. That nice silvery blue interior. Love these cars, love this interior. And under the bonnet we have the usual high compression A+ 998 in completely standard configuration. So let's dig into it and see what we can find. This one's still running points, so the first thing we need to do is verify the points gap and check the condition. So got the dwell up, and as we can see, that's spot on. I've not touched that at all. That's 54 degrees, which is the factory spec is 54 plus or minus 5, so that's bang on. Okay, so there's an indication of how things running. Obviously we've got the new spark plug on the left, and we've got one of the original spark plugs on the right. As you can see, this is running rich, and also the gap is much too large, so we need to gap the new ones, fit the plugs in, and then we can continue with the tune-up. Okay, so I've just strobed this one. We've got 8 degrees of static advance, but then we're only getting to 21 degrees at full advance, and it's very slow. So this one's going to need an advance curve to make it wake up, and it sounds very flat. So if we just rev that, you'll hear it. As you can see, it won't pick up because A, it's a little bit lean, and secondly, there's not enough advance, so we need to get in and sort that one out. Okay, in addition to the ignition timing issues, I've just checked the carburettor, and although that's idling nice now at park throttle, park throttle it's far too lean. So we're up in the 1.2s, 1.25s right the way across the res range. So we need to dial that in as well. So this was a good call on the owner to get me down, because this has got both timing and fueling issues. So this should run really nicely when dialed in. Okay, so now I've got the dizzy out, we can have a look and see why we've got no advance, or very little advance. But in this case, we've just got a worn dizzy. So you can see that primary spring is not doing anything to return that mechanism back to its start. So actually all it's doing is, as soon as you start the engine, it's coming up hard against the secondary spring, which is a great big one in this, and it's stopping the advance. So that's our problem. So what we're going to do is this needs to go back for exchange, and I'll recurve it to make it more suitable. And I will exchange it for a one that I keep with me with springs that have been serviced and set correctly. Okay, so this is the replacement distributor. So this has been recurved. The springs look a little strange because they've been modified to give the advanced curve that we actually need, and this one's got a differential spring assemblies. So there's a light primary, and in fact there's actually 2 primaries there to get the spring rate that we actually need on this particular application. And these modifications, together with an adjustment to the stop, we can see where it says 6. Well, that's what it used to be, but it's been filed out. It's been filed out since then to increase the total advance. So one of the things that people seem to not understand is that distributors wear, and in the UK people pay very little attention to them. So this was a classic example of the previous dizzy that we just took out, where it was actually worn to the point where it's not doing anything, or it's actually slowing the engine down even worse than when it left the factory. So what this does is bring it back to that level, and then I've developed advanced curves which optimize the performance of these high compression engines. So this is what this is. This is an ACDodd recurved distributor, which I take with me on the road to enable me to be able to tune up cars and get the best out of them. One of the other things we're doing on this as well is when I was checking the engine over, I noticed that the old vacuum unit was leaking. So we've removed that and we fitted a nice new unit from Mini Spares, because obviously if that's not working as well as the advances out, you can see that this engine was very, very struggling for timing. So this is going to run a whole lot better now. Okay, so now when I've checked it with the strobe light, I've got 8 degrees at idle and I've got 31 degrees full advance instead of the 21 that we had before. So and I've also got a nice bulge in the middle, bringing it up to around 20 degrees, well 18 degrees at 2500. So yeah, this is going to perform a lot better. Okay, so one of the things I've also done as well is I've took the liberty with the owner's permission to drill the bottom of the airbox to get a little bit more airflow. So that just makes the boat most of that. So even though this is all standard, it should actually perform quite well. Okay, so in terms of what we got, we replaced the distributor and vacuum unit, got a recurved distributor, a new vacuum, set the points and timing. Timing is now set at 8 degrees before top dead center, which is actually the same as the previous on the old distributor. We got a set of BP5E spark plugs, and the carburettor turned out to be quite warm, so it's varying a little bit at idle. So I've advised the customer here that perhaps next year put a new carburettor on it, or rebuilt one. So what I've done with the fueling is I've taken the AAC needle out and put an AAF. In this case, maybe a touch rich in terms of economy, but not in terms of bore wash. But the point is, this one's going to go really well. So quick rev. That's a whole load better than it was before. Okay, the owner's been out in this one and he's very impressed. So he was actually quite shocked about how well it went and what the transformation was. So it just goes to show you that standard ones respond really well to a good tune-up. So hopefully he's going to leave a comment on this video about how he thought the service was and how he thought the performance change was. Anyway, I'd just like to say thank you very much to him for calling me out, and let's move on to the next tune-up. Okay, here we are, and we're down in Eastleigh now, and this is Gemma's Mini. So this is the first of 2 cars we got to look at, and this is a little Mini Advantage. As you can see, nice little standard car. And I think this one's been ready to go to Italy. So I'm down here to try and get this engine set up. If it's going to Italy, we need to make sure that we're not too rich, so that when we go into the mountains and the air gets thin, that we choke the engine. So with that in mind, we can start the tuning. Okay, so working our way through this one, we've got the original factory core, which is all good. It's a ballast system, points ignition, the dwell angle's fine, the leads are new, someone's fitted plugs recently, and the only reason I've got them out is because I was checking the gap, and of course they're all wrong, so I'm closing the gaps down back down to 25 thou. Anyway, this is all looking good. Our advance curve in the dizzy is a little bit slow and a bit short, so I'm not sure I'm going to change it because this is a high compression engine, but I'm going to adjust the timing to make the best use of what's there. And in terms of the carburettor, we haven't got around to that yet, but that's next. Okay, so we're moving on to the carburettor now. So we've got the dash pot out, and I've got the needle out. Now, interestingly, this is fueling virtually perfectly, which for a, I don't know if you can see that there, but that's an ADE needle. Anyway, for a standard needle, now that's fueling very well. So what's basically happened is this and the carburettor is worn such that that's actually delivering the appropriate fuel right until 5,000 revs, and then it goes impossibly lean. So I'm going to do a little bit of modification on the existing needle on this one. Plus we've agreed with Gemma that I'm going to drill the airbox as well, just to give us a little bit more top end running. So I'm going to add a little bit of fuel for top end running as well. And then hopefully we can make the best of this, again, completely standard install. Okay, so we've got the carburettor dialed in. So it had an ADE needle in it, which was unusually fueling almost perfectly. So I got Gemma's permission to drill the airbox, which I've done. I've adjusted the needle so that we've got fueling correct all the way across the rev range. And I've also richened it a little bit at the top end, obviously to account for the holes that we've drilled in the air filter. So this is running nice and strong now. So we'll let Gemma go at it and see what she thinks. Okay, second car of Gemma's. This one is a convertible. So let's have a quick look. Look at that, nice cream interior. Excellent. And this one I'm already into as usual. But the first thing I did with this one is fit a new carb. So when I arrived to this one, it didn't even have a carburetor on it because Gemma had sent this to me about 6 weeks ago, and it's been sat in the garage while I've been waiting for me to do it. So I fitted the carburetor to it, got the engine running, and now we start the tune-up. So anyway, going through it, what we've got here, some has already been in there. So we've got some decent leads. These seem to be right. I don't know what brand they are, but they've got 1.5k resistance, so they're all good. We've got a 65D dizzy. We've got a vacuum unit that's not working. We've got a 1.4 ohm coil, which is not really the right one, so we're gonna look at changing that. And we're also still running the ballast cable, so we're going to try and cobble together some wire to make that so that it's got a full power feed to the to this coil. Change that hopefully to a 0.8 ohm. Regap the spark plugs, and then we'll check the advance curve and then see where we are with the needle. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we've got a faulty vacuum unit. So I've taken the distributor out of the engine, stripped it down, replaced the vacuum unit with a new one from Mini Spares, and then that will get that working. We put that back in, time it back up, and hopefully we're good to go. The advance curve in this one is pretty aggressive. It's actually out of an MG Metro, so it's found its way into this one, and hopefully it's not going to be too aggressive to cause the engine to knock, but we won't work that out until we actually get it in the engine and see how it runs. Okay, so now we've got the all the ignition system done. Obviously new vacuum unit in. I've also had to turn around the distributor drive because we ran out of movement. The module started hitting the solenoid, so I had to turn that distributor drive around 1/2 to bring it back up in the normal position. Everything else on the ignition is now working. Vacuum's on. Turn our attention to the carburetor, and this is a new carb that I fitted on this particular car. And it's got an AAU needle, so we've just tested it and it's coming a bit lean above 3000, so a little bit of modification to that, and then we'll adjust the accelerator pump via the oil in the dash pot, and then should be good to go. Okay, so we finally got there with this one. I actually ruined the needle, so I took a little bit too much off the AAU, so I had to change that for an ABD. And then I got this one right in one go, so I didn't want to ruin another needle. But the main thing is this one has now got a new carburetor. We've got an advance curve which is pretty aggressive and somewhere near right. We've now got a 0.8 ohm coil instead of the 1.4 that was on it. We've got a new set of spark plugs. We've got 35 thou gaps. We've got 1.5k ohm resistance leads on it, and K&M filter, and this one sounds good. Okay, so Gemma's been out for a test drive. She's very happy with the way this goes. It goes very well, so very happy with the way this one turned out. I think what Gemma's going to do, rather than be on camera, she's going to put some words, and I think that'll be, she'll comment under the video. So anyway, that's it for today. Now I'm back on the road, time to go home. Okay, so here we are down in Portchester. I'm going to come to have a look at this Mini for a tune-up. Unfortunately, you'll notice I've got not a lot of equipment out, and that's because we've got a big running problem. So actually we've got a compression issue. So just want to crank it a minute. I'll hold the throttle open and listen. That hissing is blowing between cylinders 3 and 4. All right. As you can see, we've got 70 pound on that one, which is no good at all. So let's try it in another cylinder. You can see what it should be. If I do it in number 4, it's the same reading because it's blowing across the 2 cylinders. Okay, so now what I've done is I've moved the compression tester into number 2 cylinder and crank away. Okay, so now you can see the cranking pressure on that is 185, and that's the sort of pressure you should have, not 70. Okay, so in terms of this one, we can't tune this one today because it needs work. So one of the problems that can happen is if the engine's not ready for tuning, like this one, it's got a blown air gasket, then obviously I can't do that. So one of the things to bear in mind is if you call me down and it needs major work, then obviously there still will be a charge for my time to come down and have a look and diagnose the fault. So in this case, the owner's going to go away, remove the cylinder head, inspect, and then decide what he wants to do. Anyway, that's it for me on this version of On the Road Tuning. So as ever, I'll see you soon. Take care.